The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years. They ruled over 900 species across 4 spiral arms of the galaxy. Their word was law. Their judgment was final. No race had ever them and survived. This was the truth that every species learned when they first reached the stars: obey the Council or face extinction. When humanity sent its first signal into space, the Council noticed immediately. Their sensors detected the primitive radio waves coming from a small blue planet in a quiet corner of the Orion Arm. The Council observers watched as humans built their first rockets. They watched as humans landed on their moon. They watched as humans sent probes to their neighboring planets. "Another young species," said High Arbiter Hal, the leader of the Council. He was a tall creature with gray skin and 6 eyes that glowed with ancient wisdom. "They will learn their place soon enough." The Council sent their standard greeting to Earth. It was not really a greeting. It was a demand: join the Council, pay tribute, follow the laws, surrender your weapons, accept your position at the bottom of the galactic order. Every species before had accepted these terms. They had no choice. But humanity did something unexpected. They said no. The Council received Earth's response with confusion at first. No species had ever refused. The message from Earth was polite but firm. Humanity thanked the Council for making contact. They expressed interest in peaceful trade and cultural exchange, but they would not surrender their sovereignty. They would not pay tribute. They would not disarm. High Arbiter Hal read the message 3 times. His 6 eyes blinked in disbelief. "They do not understand," he said to the other Council members. "Send them a clearer message." The Council dispatched a small fleet to Earth's solar system. 50 warships appeared near Jupiter, their weapons ready. The fleet commander, admiral of the people, sent a transmission to Earth. He explained what would happen if they continued to refuse. Cities would burn. Oceans would boil. Their species would become a warning to others. Humanity's response came within hours. It was a single sentence: "Leave now or you will regret it." Admiral laughed when he heard this. His officers laughed with him. These humans had barely mastered space travel. They had no fleet. Their weapons were primitive chemical explosives and simple nuclear devices. What could they possibly do against 50 Council warships? "Destroy one of their orbital stations," Admiral ordered. "Show them we are serious." A Council destroyer fired its plasma cannon at a human research station orbiting Earth's moon. The station vanished in a flash of light. 37 human scientists died in an instant. Admiral waited for the humans to beg for mercy. Instead, every screen on every Council ship went dark. Then a human face appeared. It was a woman with gray hair and cold eyes. She wore a military uniform. "I am Admiral Sarah of the United Earth Defense Force," she said. "You have committed an act of war against humanity. You killed our people. We offered you peace and you chose violence. This was a mistake. You will not make another." Admiral ordered his communications officer to cut the transmission. Nothing happened. The human woman continued speaking. "For 50 years we have known about the Council. We intercepted your messages. We studied your technology. We watched your ships patrol the outer edges of our system. We knew this day would come. We prepared." The Council fleet detected something strange. Energy readings were spiking all across Earth's solar system. Ships were emerging from hidden locations, from inside asteroids, from beneath the surface of moons, from behind planets. Admiral stared at his sensor display. "That is impossible," he whispered. 300 human warships surrounded the Council fleet. They were not primitive vessels. They were massive, advanced. Their weapons hummed with energy signatures that the Council had never seen before. "You assumed we were weak because we were young," Admiral said. "You assumed we would bow because others had bowed before us. You were wrong. We are not like other species. We do not bow, we do not kneel, we do not submit." Admiral tried to order a retreat. His ships would not respond. Human weapons had already disabled their engines. They were trapped. "Tell your council this," Admiral said. "Earth remembers what you did today. Earth will never forget, and Earth will never forgive." The human fleet opened fire. In 17 minutes, all 50 Council warships were destroyed. There were no survivors. When news reached the Council, there was panic. High Arbiter Hal called an emergency meeting. The great chamber filled with representatives from hundreds of species. They had all heard what happened. They were all afraid. "This cannot stand," said Counselor of the Imperium. "We must send the full fleet. We must crush these humans before they grow stronger." Others agreed. The Council had never been challenged like this. If they did not respond with overwhelming force, other species might be encouraged to rebel. They had to make an example of Earth. High Arbiter Hal agreed. He gave the order to assemble the largest fleet in Council history. 10,000 warships gathered from across the galaxy. The mightiest vessels of 100 different species joined together. They would travel to Earth and burn it to ash. They would end humanity forever. The fleet departed with great ceremony. Citizens across Council space watched the broadcast. They cheered as the Armada entered hyperspace. Victory was certain. How could primitive humans stand against such power? The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral, the Supreme Commander, scanned for the human fleet. He expected to find them hiding behind their planets again. But the solar system was quiet. No ships appeared on sensors. No weapons fired. Earth floated peacefully in the distance, blue and green and seemingly defenseless. "They are hiding," Admiral said. "Find them." Scout ships spread out across the system. They searched every moon, every asteroid, every shadow. They found nothing. The human fleet had vanished. "Perhaps they fled," suggested his second in command. Admiral shook his head. "No, these humans do not flee. They are planning something." He was right. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, humanity had built something terrible. They called it the Prometheus Array. It was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Humans had not wasted the 50 years they spent watching the Council. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could find. They had combined it with their own knowledge. They had created something new. Admiral stood in the control room, watching the Council fleet approach Earth. Her officers waited for her command. "They brought their entire fleet," she said quietly. "Good, we only have to do this once." She pressed a button. Across the solar system, 1,000 hidden satellites activated. They were small. They were invisible to Council sensors. They had been placed years ago, waiting for this moment. The satellites fired simultaneously, but they did not fire weapons. They fired something worse. They opened doorways to another dimension. Scientists called it subspace. It was an empty void where nothing could exist. The Council fleet began to disappear. Admiral watched in horror as his ships vanished one by one. They were not destroyed. They were simply gone, pulled into nothingness. His sensors showed nothing but empty space where thousands of warships had been moments before. "What is happening?" he screamed. "What are they doing?" His own ship began to shake. The lights flickered. He felt a strange pulling sensation, like gravity working sideways. Then he was gone too. In 12 minutes the entire Council fleet ceased to exist. 10,000 warships, 2 million soldiers, gone, erased from reality. There were no explosions, no debris, no bodies, just empty space where the greatest armada in galactic history had been. The satellites deactivated. The Prometheus Array went silent. Earth had won. News of the defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. Species that had served the Council for thousands of years stared at their screens in disbelief. The Council fleet was gone. All of it. Humanity had destroyed it in minutes. High Arbiter Hal received the report in his private chamber. His 6 eyes went dim. His hands trembled. He had ruled the galaxy for 3 centuries. He had never known fear until this moment. The council called another emergency meeting, but this time no one spoke of attacking Earth. They spoke of surrender. They spoke of terms. They spoke of survival. "We must negotiate," said Counselor. His voice was small now. "We must offer them whatever they want." High Arbiter Hal knew this was true. The Council had no more fleets to send. They had gambled everything on one massive attack, and they had lost everything. He prepared a message for Earth. It was a request for peace, an apology for the attack on the orbital station, an offer of whatever terms humanity wanted. Admiral received the message. She read it carefully. Then she responded. "You started this war," she said. "We will finish it, not today, not tomorrow, but soon. You will watch your empire crumble. You will watch species leave your council one by one. You will watch your power fade into nothing. And when you are alone, when you have nothing left, then we will come for you, not with weapons, with truth. We will show the galaxy what you really are. Bullies, tyrants, cowards who only attack those weaker than themselves. The galaxy will know that the Council's time is over. Humanity's time has begun." High Arbiter Hal tried to respond. He offered more concessions, more apologies, more tribute, but Earth went silent. They would not negotiate. They would not forgive. In the years that followed, everything Admiral predicted came true. Species began leaving the Council. They had seen what humanity could do. They knew the Council could not protect them anymore. Some species even sent secret messages to Earth, asking for friendship and alliance. The Council grew weaker month by month. Their economy collapsed. Their military was gone. Their authority meant nothing. High Arbiter Hal spent his final years watching his empire fall apart. He often thought about that first message from Earth. The polite refusal. The simple request for peaceful trade. If only he had listened. If only he had treated humanity as equals instead of subjects. But he had made his choice. He had chosen violence. He had chosen to underestimate a species he did not understand. Now he paid the price. The last thing he saw before he died was a human ship landing on his. They had finally come, not to destroy, not to conquer, but to offer the survivors a choice. Join the new order as equals or fade away into history. The humans were building something new, a federation based on cooperation, not domination, trust, not fear. They invited every species that had suffered under the Council. They shared their technology. They shared their knowledge. They asked for nothing in return except friendship. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. A powerful species that did not seek to rule, that did not demand tribute, that wanted partners, not subjects. And so humanity rose, not as conquerors but as liberators, not as tyrants but as friends. They had turned the heavens dark with their wrath, but they lit them again with hope. The Council had underestimated them. That was their first mistake. It was also their last.